So I'm going to be out of town for a bit. So this morning, and it's a beautiful morning, I'm going to be harvesting tomatoes. Any tomatoes that have started blushing or that are ripe, I'm going to allow them to finish ripening on top of the counter. And I'm also going to harvest my onions regardless of the size because they are definitely ready. So yeah, let's get to it. Hey there, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Tish and I'm a small space container gardener in the hot desert of Phoenix, Arizona. And it's actually a beautiful morning this morning. I think we're probably in the low 80s, I'm guessing. Either way, it feels good. So it's a perfect opportunity to come out and do a mini harvest and just kind of show you what's going on in the garden. So let's get to it. All right, I'm going to start over here with this loofah because it has been steady growing, and I finally did get a bloom on it the other day, right up here, which was just lovely. And also, it has started to branch out, which is good. So that makes me feel a little better about this plant. Now that it's starting to get a little more full, I think that I'll start to see a little more on the bloom side. These onions are definitely ready. Tops are dying back, and like I said, I'll be out of town for a bit, so I definitely want to pull these. I have a few rattlesnake beans planted in here, which are doing just fine, except somebody did get the top of this one, which is unfortunate. We have a volunteer that popped up that I'm waiting. I'm just kind of waiting to find out what it is to decide whether I leave it or not. I've got this watermelon trailing just to kind of provide some cover on the roots. And as you can see, I have my first little baby watermelon. So I'm watching that, see how that grows. Again, watermelon vining. I've got a pumpkin in here, which makes me wonder if that other volunteer is actually a pumpkin. But either way, we'll find out. So this watermelon has also started vining out all different directions, and I'm just going to let it do its thing. Wherever it wants to go, I'm going to let it go. All right, this corn is pretty much on its way out. So when I get back into town and have a little more time, I'm going to go ahead and pull this corn. And for monsoon planting, I think I'm going to go ahead and put sunflowers in here along with some more rattlesnake beans because I'm really curious about those and how those will do through the monsoon season. So over there, we have the Chimayo melon. And even though it was hit with thrips, it seems to be doing okay. I mean, it's still growing. It's still getting full. There are a few baby melons on it, so we'll see what happens with those. Back in the corner is the cucumber, which is still hanging on despite the thrips. So, you know, we'll continue with that. Stevia is starting to bush out a little more, which is awesome. So I'm excited about that. A couple of rattlesnake beans have popped up over here. And I'm curious to find out how those will fare against the thrips, if they will do any better or if they'll do the same. So we'll see. All right, so I think I'm going to go ahead and start with these tomatoes. Also, I've got a little yellowing on my okra. However, it has bloomed. I've got another couple of blooms showing up like soon. I'm hoping to see some fruit on there. Looks like we've got a little baby grasshopper on there. Flick them off. All right, let's get these onions. Okay, so we've got a little baby one. And back here, another little guy. Some of this off. So I know these are really small, and I did start these direct sow, and I feel like I maybe could start them a little earlier, or actually start them indoors and set them out as starts. So I may go ahead and do that next season. We'll see. One more over here. So yeah, they are pretty small, but they are bulbs, and I will eat them. So anytime I can use what I grow, that's a win. All right, getting down to the last two, and these are the bigger ones. So that actually is not a horrible size. I mean, you guys, this is my first time growing onions. So I'll tell you what, I've got onions and I'm happy because, I mean, like I said, this is the first time. That's the biggest one, and I'm stoked. I've got onions. So I'm going to leave these outside to cure. Not really outside, but I'm going to find a spot for these to cure while I'm gone, and I'll be ready to use them. So I did want to talk about these tomatoes for a minute. One thing I noticed is I grew the same variety. These are the San Marzano tomatoes. And I grew the same variety last year. And I noticed some differences. Okay, so last year I purchased starts and I put them in. They did great. They were extremely prolific. They did fairly well through the summer. So that is definitely not a complaint. However, I noticed that the fruit on these, and these actually I started from seed indoors and then hardened them off and transplanted them outside. But yeah, again, what I've noticed is that the fruit on these are much bigger than the ones that I had last year where I purchased starts. So I don't know if that's just a fluke or what, but I'm going to do the same thing next year that I did this year if I don't overwinter these. And I'm going to see if I get the same results. But also this plant, both of these plants are much more healthy than they were this time last year from purchase starts. So again, I don't know if it's a fluke, but I guess we'll find out. But anyway, I've got a bunch of tomatoes, some that are ripe. That one just fell right off. Love it. Some that are almost ripe and some that have started to blush. So I'm just going to go ahead and take everything. I might leave that one that is starting to blush because I'm going to let it finish indoors just so the birds don't get them. However, also another thing that I've noticed is that having a bird feeder on the other side of my yard has been really helpful with keeping the birds out of the garden. As long as I keep that feeder full, they pretty much leave my garden alone, which is really nice. Oh, I can't believe the size of these tomatoes, you guys. These are awesome. It is just crazy. They are huge. I'm probably just going to take the ones that are definitely more on the red side. I think the ones that are mostly green with a little blushing, I'm going to leave those alone. All right, so I'm going to finish harvesting these up, and I think we'll be done. All right, so here we have it, our onion and tomato harvest. So like I said, I'll let these finish ripening on the counter, and those will go in the freezer until we have enough to make sauce. And I think I'm gonna get a lot of sauce this year with the size of these tomatoes. I'm so stoked. All right, so now that those are harvested, I feel a little better about going out of town. Now I know I'm not going to come back to tomatoes that have been chomped on by the birds because some of those were pretty ripe and definitely ready to come off the vine. So onions are harvested. I don't have to worry about those rotting while I'm gone. Everything else is growing pretty nicely. Like I said, when I get back, I'll be taking down the corn, starting a little monsoon planting. I'm not going to do a whole lot because the monsoon season is a very short season. So I definitely want something I can get a harvest from. So I'll continue with the melons growing, remove the corn, add some sunflowers, maybe some more beans. We'll see how that goes. And then I'm also going to do some cleaning up, and let me show you. So my amaranth has all kind of died away, so which I'm not mad at because that stuff is just invasive for sure. So I'm going to get rid, well, not really get rid of it, but kind of clean it up a little bit. I'll leave a little bit down for mulch and weed suppression. And then back here in this corner is where my nasturtiums have all died back, and it's just a big clump of dead, and I feel like that is just a breeding ground for pests. So I'm going to work on cleaning this up a bit, get it nice and tidy so that I'm not breeding all kinds of icky critters. So anyway, so that is done, and yeah, the window is pretty small in the summertime for gardening here in Phoenix. So we take early mornings, like I'm talking as soon as the sun comes up. Sometimes I'm out here because that's the only time where it's actually cool enough to get anything done. So yeah, that's it for today. So thanks for joining me and happy gardening.